Hi everyone, my name is Becca and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, I am so glad that you stopped by. At Becca's Book Room, we focus on all things middle grade literature, but specifically the first chapters of your favorite middle grade novels. Today we are going to be reading the first chapter of Ghost by Jason Reynolds. This is actually the first book in a series of 4 books. So if you want to hear the rest of the first chapters, I will put the links to those in the description as well. And if you're not familiar with Jason Reynolds, huge fan. He has written so many phenomenal novels. You should definitely check him out, and this is a great place to start. So that being said, let's dive on into the front and side cover, which will give us a little bit of a synopsis on what this novel is going to be all about. Running. That's all that Ghost, real name Castle Cranshaw, has ever known. But never for a track team. Nope, his game has always been ball. But when Ghost impulsively challenges an elite sprinter to a race and wins, the Olympic medalist track coach sees he has something. Crazy natural talent. Thing is, Ghost has something else. A lot of anger and a past that he tries to outrun. Can Ghost harness his raw talent for speed and meld with the team, or will his past finally catch up to him? All right, and on that note, we are going to go ahead and dive right on into that first chapter. Teachers, if you're reading this with your class and you want to grab a First Chapter Friday guide, you can find it in the description below, as well as tons of other resources for this novel. Chapter 1 is titled World Records. Check this out. This dude named Andrew Dahl holds the world record for blowing up the most balloons. With his nose. Yeah, that's true. Not sure how he found out that was some kind of special talent, and I can't even imagine how much snot must be in those balloons. But hey, it's a thing, and Andrew's the best at it. There's also this lady named Charlotte Lee, who holds the record for owning the most rubber ducks. No lie. Here's what's weird about that. Why would you even want one rubber duck, let alone 5,631? I mean, come on. And me? Well, I probably hold the world record for knowing about the most world records. That and eating the most sunflower seeds. Let me guess. Sunflower seeds? Mr. Charles practically shouts from behind the counter of what he calls his country store, even though we live in a city. Mr. Charles, who, by the way, looks just like James Brown if James Brown were white, has been ringing me up for sunflower seeds 5 days a week for about, let me think, since 4th grade, which is when Ma took the hospital job. So for about 3 years now. He's also hard of hearing, which when my mom used to say this, I always thought she was saying harder hearing, which made no sense at all to me. I don't know why she didn't just say almost deaf. Maybe because hard of hearing is more like hospital talk, which was probably rubbing off on her. But yeah, Mr. Charles can barely hear a thing, which is why he's always yelling at everybody, and everybody's always yelling at him. His store is a straight-up scream fest, not to mention the extra sound effects from the loud TV he keeps behind the counter. Cowboy movies on repeat. Mr. Charles is also the guy who gave me this book, Guinness World Records, which is where I found out about Andrew Dahl and Charlotte Lee. He tells me I can set a record one day, a real record, be one of the world's greatest somethings. Maybe. But I know one thing, Mr. Charles has to hold the record for singing, let me guess, sunflower seeds? Because he says that every single time I come in, which means I probably also already hold the record for responding loudly the exact same way. Let me guess, $1? That's my comeback. Said it a gazillion times. Then I slap a buck in the palm of his wrinkly hand and he puts the bag of sunflower seeds into mine. After that, I continue on my slow motion journey, pausing again only when I get to the bus stop. But this bus stop ain't just any bus stop. It's the one that's directly across the street from the gym. I sit there with the other people waiting for the bus, except I'm never actually waiting for it. The bus gets you home fast, and I don't want that. I just go there to look at the people working out. See, the gym across the street has this big window. Like the whole wall is a window. And they have those machines that make you feel like you're walking up steps. So everybody just be facing the bus stop, looking all crazy like they're about to pass out. And trust me, there ain't nothing funnier than that. So I check that out for a little while, like it's some kind of movie. The About to Pass Out Show, starring Stair-Stepper Person 1 through 10. I know this all probably sounds kind of weird, maybe even creepy, but it's something to do when you're bored. Best part about sitting there is tearing into my sunflower seeds like they're theater popcorn. About the sunflower seeds. I used to just put a whole bunch of them in my mouth at the same time, suck all the salt off, then spit them all out machine gun style. I could have probably set a world record in that too. But now I've matured. Now I take my time moving them around, positioning them for the perfect bite to pop open the shell, and then carefully separating the seed from it with my tongue. Then, and this is the hard part, keeping the little seeds safe in the space between my teeth and tongue, I spit the shells out. And finally, after all that, I chew the seed up. I'm like a master at it, even though, honestly, sunflower seeds don't taste like nothing. I'm not even sure they're really worth all the hassle, but I like the process anyway. My dad used to eat sunflower seeds too. That's where I get it from. But he used to chew the whole thing up, the shells, the seeds, everything. Just devour them like some kind of beast. When I was really young, I used to ask him if a sunflower was going to grow inside of him since he ate the seeds so much. He was always watching some kind of game, like football or basketball, and he'd turn to me for just a second, just long enough not to miss a play, and say, "Sunflowers are all up in me, kid." And then he'd shake up the seeds in the palm like dice before throwing another bunch in his grill to chomp down on. But let me tell you, my dad wasn't lying. Wasn't no sunflowers growing in him. But let me tell you, my dad was lying. Wasn't no sunflowers growing in him. Couldn't have been. I don't know a whole lot about sunflowers, but I know they're pretty, and girls like them. And I know the word sunflower is made up of two good words. And that man ain't got two good words in him, or anything that any girl would like. Because girls don't like men who try to shoot them and their son. And that's the kind of man he was. It was 3 years ago when my dad lost it, when the liquor made him meaner than he'd ever been. Every other night, he would become a different person, like he'd morph into someone crazy. But this one night, my mother decided to finally fight back. This one night, everything went worse. I had my head sandwiched between the mattress and my pillow, something I got used to doing whenever they were going at it, when my mom crashed into my bedroom. "We gotta go," she said, yanking the covers off my bed. And when I didn't move fast enough, she yelled, "Come on!" Next thing I know, she was dragging me down the hallway, my feet tripping over themselves. And that's when I looked back and saw him, my dad, staggering from the bedroom, his lips bloody, a pistol in his hands. "Don't make me do this, Terry," he angry begged. But me and my mom kept rolling. The sound of the gun cocking, the sound of the door unlocking. As soon as she swung the door open, my dad fired a shot. He was shooting at us. My dad was actually shooting at us, his wife and his boy. I didn't look to see what he hit, mainly because I was scared it was gonna be me or Ma. The sound was big and sharp enough to make me feel like my brain was going to pop in my head, enough to make my heart hiccup. But the craziest thing was, I felt like the shot, loudest thing I ever heard, made my legs move even faster. I don't know if that's possible, but that's definitely what it seemed like. My mom and I kept running down the staircase into the street, breaking into the darkness with death chasing behind us. We ran and ran and ran until finally we came up on Mr. Charles' store, which, luckily for us, stays open 24/7. Mr. Charles took one look at me and my mom, out of breath, crying, barefoot in our pajamas, and hid us in his storage room while he called the cops. We stayed there all night. I haven't seen my dad since. Mom said the cops said that when they got to the house, he was sitting outside on the steps, shirtless, with the pistol beside him, guzzling beer, eating sunflower seeds, waiting, like he wanted to get caught, like it was no big deal. They gave him 10 years in prison, and to be honest, I don't know if I'm happy about that or not. Sometimes I wish he would have gotten forever in jail. Other times I wish he was home on the couch watching the game, shaking seeds in his hand. Either way, one thing is for sure, that was the night I learned how to run. So when I was done sitting at the bus stop in front of the gym and came across all those kids on the track at the park practicing, I had to go see what was going on, because running ain't nothing I ever had to practice. It's just something I knew how to do. That is the end of the first chapter of Ghost. I can already see why the author ended up making 4 books in this series, because I'm already so entranced by Ghost's story. This was my first time actually reading that first chapter out loud, and I had goosebumps for a very large majority of it, and I'm sure you did too. Let me know what you thought of this read aloud down in the comments. What are your thoughts on Ghost, on the trauma he's been through? How do you think his character is going to develop throughout the story? And have you ever read this novel, and what'd you think of it? If you enjoyed this first chapter Friday read aloud, please consider liking and subscribing so you can be notified every time we have another read aloud available for you. And until next time, my friends, happy reading.